6 clips here from Elijah Molden and Rashad Weaver about this defense. And I'm going to start with Molden speaking to the injury-prone label that he has, frankly, incurred. He's been labeled an injury-prone guy ever since pretty much his rookie season as a Tennessee Titan. And we asked him about what that label can mean for any player, not just himself, and kind of what his journey has been with that. And he gave a really thoughtful answer.
Injuries lead to more injuries because in this profession, like, you want to get out in the field, which leads people to go out there and play injured, and then when that happens, people compensate, and then when they compensate, they have another injury. So really, like, I used to be a guy, I was never hurt in college, and I a lot of times I thought it was all on the player, you know what I mean? Like, oh, they're not tough enough, or this and that. Now, like, from kind of going through that stuff, I know a lot of the times they can just be victims of a bad situation. So first I changed my mindset, and then, like, I had time this offseason to get my body right, work on the weak areas of my body, and make sure I don't have any compensation. So, like, I'm able to go out there and not think about my body, not think about all the positions I have to play. Like, this is the first time I've had a lot of fun playing football.
Is there a
And I didn't film all of it, but he was constantly today talking about how he feels very good right now. It's the best he's felt in a long time. He's just happy to be out here. So that's good. I'm personally not going to. I said this on the show the other day, man. I think the Titans need help at safety because I don't think there is anybody in that room that can be relied upon to be a starter at the safety position besides Amani Hooker. I think everybody else either is starting caliber, but I don't trust them to stay on the field more than 10, 11, 12 games out of the year, which is not enough, or they're just not up to snuff in terms of a guy you want out there starting at safety. So I would love for Elijah to prove me wrong. Certainly would. And I think he has all the skill in the world to be that guy. It's just, and I'm sure he'd agree with this. Like, it's time to be out there. It's time to prove that you have, a durable enough frame to be a starting NFL player. And this year he's going to look to do that. This next clip, we asked, Joe Rexford actually asked this question to Molden. Hey, we heard last week from Martin Key about how the Titans' new practice ethos seems to be, if you make a mistake in practice, the position group is not leaving the practice field until we get it right, until we figure it out, until we fix it. That he alluded to that not really necessarily being the case last year or in previous years with the Vrabel regime. We asked Molden, hey, is that a thing that's happening, and is that new? And I think the very beginning of this clip, it gets cut off, but he says, yes, it is. And here's what he had to say.
It is, but I mean, it's just just a different way of doing things. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, we want to be perfect, but also know that it's not actually going to happen. You know what I mean? But that's our goal. So,
how would you describe?
I was so excited. I was so excited when he got the DC
right
job.
There, JT. And back that up a little bit because I want to make sure we get that first portion of this next clip in there. That is, I know our buddy Zach was getting raked over the coals on the radio by guys like Joe, pointing out that maybe it is a big deal that this coaching staff is like fixing things. It's not to say that the previous regime didn't fix things, but for multiple players now to volunteer this information that, yeah, this is new, the way that we're approaching fixing our problems on the practice field. It may be more proactive, maybe more aggressive in the way that they are fixing issues. I don't really know what to make of it besides it makes the Vrabel regime not look all that great. And it's encouraging for this regime.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's totally different styles, and it's why that Ravens defense, I think Dennard Wilson coming from that kind of more aggressive and more meticulous type of defense, I think that's one of the biggest things that made me excited about Dennard Wilson becoming the defensive coordinator. You talk about a Ravens defense that is so detail oriented that is making all of these turnovers and is emphasizing things that maybe are not emphasized by some other teams. And I think when you look at a team like the Titans last year, who are one of the league's worst in creating turnovers, and bringing in a guy like Dennard Wilson, who is so detail oriented and make sure that you are executing correctly no matter what on every single play, like those Ravens defenses have done in the past, I think is a breath of fresh air for these guys, and a big enough change that it's important to comment on it.
Well, and this next clip from Molden is him talking about his new defensive coordinator, Dennard Wilson. We asked what his reaction was when that was the signing, and here at the very beginning, he gives you his thoughts on what was going through his mind at the time when he found out, and what he's found out since.
to be perfect, but also know that it's not actually going to happen. You know what I mean? But that's our goal. So
how would you describe him?
I was so excited. I was so excited when he got the DC job, just because, I mean, you just have to look at his resume, and that kind of speaks for itself. You know, the players he's able to elevate. You know, both in Philadelphia and in Baltimore. You know what I mean? So I knew he would take that philosophy and we'd have the same type of success. So we just have to put in the work. And we trust in our coaching.
Have you already felt that meeting with him? Just like,
yeah.
This is something, you know, the way he approaches it, this is different from guys I've worked with before.
It's the sense of urgency, the attention to detail. You know, if you have one bad rep or one mistake, like, he's not afraid to pull you. And you don't take it personal, just get it cleaned up, go back out there. So, yeah.
Is that a big...
I find that interesting that he, of course, talking about the detail orientedness of Dennard, talking about his willingness to pull guys and make them figure something, again, fixing an issue now, being aggressive in the way, proactive in the way that they're doing that. But for him to mention, he says, you look at Baltimore and the guys that he was able to elevate there, not focusing on the stars necessarily as much as it is, hey, look at the floor raiser that a Dennard Wilson is for some of these guys that are, you know, have the talent and they haven't quite panned out, or they haven't quite put it all together, or they haven't really ever been much more than a rotational player in the NFL. But now suddenly under Dennard Wilson, hey, this guy is not a star, but a serviceable starter at their position. They are a valuable cog in the machine. I'd imagine a guy like Molden kind of resonates with that, who he has all the self-confidence in the world. He knows that he is capable of being a starter defensive back in the NFL and has the skills necessary to hang with just about anybody. He's got to, you know, he needs a floor raiser. He needs a guy to get the most out of him. And I'd imagine that's very exciting for guys that are kind of in that, you know, middle of the roster range of, hey, this guy's going to maximize me. And I've seen him do it with guys like me in the past. And that's an exciting prospect.
Yeah, I agree with you. To touch on that a little bit, I think you talk about Dennard Wilson being a guy that makes Molden excited, especially considering I think another interesting detail that Molden touched on today was that, you know, that transition from being, as he said, coming kind of out and being a nickel corner and now making his full transition to more of that safety type role. He talked about last year kind of feeling like a rookie season all over again, you know, having to learn that different style, and now bringing in a confidence builder like Dennard Wilson, who is so good and has created so many good and starting caliber safeties. Like you talking about a Geno Stone, who has been the past couple of years was a good starter, but, you know, being elevated to that next level where he gets that second contract and has been a productive guy on the backside. I think that's something that gives Molden the confidence to come into year 2 in this position, not his second year overall, but second year at the safety position. It gives him all the confidence in the world to go out there and want to prove that he is able to start for this team.
Absolutely. This next clip is from Rashad Weaver. We asked him about the new defense, and he kind of took the question in the direction of, let me tell you how I feel about Dennard Wilson. Strong feelings from this guy. Let's listen to Rashad.
Fun, aggressive. I mean, honestly, the first meeting we had him, I told him, like, you had me ready to run through a wall. But it's about, he's very hard on us, but he also lets you know when you're doing stuff right. And I think that's the biggest thing for me is, you know, sometimes before that I didn't know when I was doing stuff right, but I know when I'm doing stuff right now, and that makes you want to fix all the mistakes because, you know, it's being noticed.
How much? The most interesting part of that response, before I didn't necessarily know when I was doing things right. I don't know if that's a veiled way of saying we didn't get a lot of positive reinforcement from the past, or whether or not that is genuinely him saying, like, there were times when I didn't quite know what I was doing and I didn't have coaches pointing out, hey, this is right, this is wrong. Whatever it is, again, not great. And for him to feel like, again, that wasn't necessarily the nature of the question. He took it in that direction. For him to feel like that's necessary to say, I think can kind of speak volumes. Let's go ahead and play this next clip, because he then talked about what's going to be different and how this defense is going to, and this is the most interesting part here to me, the defense is going to look to be dictating terms, dictating the flow of the game to the offense, not the other way around.
It's more of, he's got an answer for everything, and it's also how dictated we're going to be. You know, we're not worried about what that offense is going to do. They got to get past us, and we're going to have so many different things for different teams to handle with, but we also got simple things that'll be our core that will be plenty enough for us to get where we need to go. So it'll just be, you know, our choice of hand when we get out there to really have fun and do what a defense should do at a high level.
How much of an back and we're
That's exciting, man. The idea that they're going to be dictating terms, dictating the flow of the game from a defensive standpoint. As he says, don't care what the offense is doing right now. We're gonna be dictating the game the way that we want it to work. We're gonna do our thing, and they've got to get through us. We're not going to be reactive. We're going to be proactive. That's a big difference from some of the way that the Titans defense was playing in the past. Now, at times they were playing reactively because their hands were tied from a personnel standpoint. They didn't have the horses to make it work to dictate terms. You can't dictate terms from a position of weakness. You know, if you're in chess and you're down to just your king, you can't. You're not getting to set the way that the game is going to be played. You're playing reactive. Like there's just nothing. You're on the run. And the Titans felt like they were on the run a number of times in the past couple of years because of who they had on the field. But there were also times, and even more frustrating than that, JT, were the times they had their guys out there, and it's like, what is Elijah Molden or Roger McCreary or whoever doing lined up 7 yards off of this guy when it's 3rd and 3, and they can just show, oh, look at that. They throw a quick in-breaking route, easy first down, he falls down, and we're moving the chains. Like, let's play it. Let's play a little bit more proactive than that. Let's not be so reactive to the way that this. They connect on a deep shot, and then we only put 5 in the box, and in the running game, suddenly they break off a 13-yard run right after. It's because you quit reacting. Like you dictate the terms, have a plan, stick to the plan. That's something the Titans haven't done a whole lot defensively in recent years, and the idea that that's the way they're going to try to do it this year, that has me amped.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. That aggressiveness, that I can't wait to see it in pads as well. The aggressiveness of that Dennard Wilson defense just in action is going to be so exciting to watch, especially when they finally get to go up in pads on pads against this wide receiver core. Being able to dictate those terms and bounce back after they miss a play or anything like that is going to be so fun to watch.
All right, this last clip we have today is from Elijah Molden talking about some more of those differences. I asked him, hey, when Titans fans watch week 1, and they're reacting to the game after the game has ended, and it's like, what? This is really different. This part of the defense, really different from what we've seen in the past with Tennessee Titans defenses. What is that going to be? And he gives a fantastic answer, talking about how the safeties are going to be able to play, telling fans they need to learn ball, which it's cosign. JT, I think you co-sign learn ball. Fans need to learn ball, and he appreciates the fans that do learn ball, and then gives what he thinks is going to be the biggest difference from this defense this year.
Going to play a lot more free. It's going to free up. Our safeties are going to be in position to make plays, especially with the 2 corners we have. So yeah.
When week 1 rolls around, do you think fans, like, they watch that first game, are they going to come away saying that's really different from the defense I'm used to seeing from the Titans, or is it a relatively similar approach to what you guys have been doing?
I hope so. I feel like definitely the fans who know football probably.
Okay.
And that's not a knock on fans who don't. I'm saying fans who are invested in the schemes and can kind of watch some film and kind of break down what type of coverages we run, then yeah, for sure.
In what way do you think it's going to be drastically, like what's going to be noticeable about the defense? It's different.
That's a good. I'm trying to put myself in your guys' shoes. I
feel like nitty gritty with us.
I just feel like we're gonna have a lot more vision on the quarterback and be able to make plays. As opposed to kind of going through our reads and worried about the routes. Now it's like more, we're going to be able to have vision on the quarterback. And yeah.
Okay.
And that can on the surface seem like, that lame answer, not an interesting answer. I think that's a really fascinating answer because, again, it seconds and thirds and fourths the idea that they're going to be playing proactively, not reactively. They're going to be playing aggressive, physical, downhill football, and they're going to be looking to affect the quarterback and dictate the terms defensively, regardless of what the offense is doing. It's going to be you have to come through us, and you have to do it by the terms that we have set. We're not going to be reacting to the way that this offense throws things at us. That is operating from a position of power. It's operating from a position of this defense. Clearly, they have confidence in what they can and cannot do, and from a scheme standpoint, they're confident that they can do enough things to confuse the offense. I mean, today, Brian Callahan talking about how Dennard unloaded the pressure packages today, unloaded the blitz packages, and he threw a lot at us, and it was a tough day for the offense, and it's nice to see that we have that on the Titans team. It's also nice for our offense to have to now try to figure out how to counter that. I'm stoked for all of those things. And I think that every time we ask any of these defensive players, they are giving answers that fit in line with that vision for this defense. And so as the picture starts to come into focus, as we get closer to training camp and to the regular season and see these guys in pads and see them playing in preseason games and in joint practices and against each other, and we start to, okay, we know what the identity of this actually is. It's not a projection. It's not on paper. We see it in real life. As that picture is focusing, I am becoming more and more excited about what we're going to see.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be a fun time around here. No longer, having a lopsided battle like the days of old last year when we're hyping up Arden Key as the next like great pass rusher because actually the offensive line just actually sucked. Not saying that Arden Key's a bad player.
I was like, what are you talking about? No, you're talking about the 9 sack days from Arden Key.
Gone are the 9 sack days because there's going to be that back and forth. I think you're going to see a lot more consistency in that section now of practices than you did before.
Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Thanks for that.
Want more of the latest from the Hot Read podcast? Subscribe to the channel right below.
And follow us on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram @HotReadPod for even more segments, clips, and announcements.